Hello, hello. So you may have noticed that I eat pretty early in the day and I tend not to eat very late. And that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. But before we do that, I want to welcome you to day 19 of my 30-day video diary, where I basically document my journey back to more active, healthier, and more intentional life. Now, let's get these stats over with and then we can move on to why I eat so dang early. All right, my Oura ring stats. I got my stats here on my phone. So my readiness score is 93, and yesterday was 84, so that's really good today. And my sleep is at 89, and yesterday was 90, but it's still optimal, so I'm really happy about that. And I got 7 hours and 27 minutes of sleep. My activity score from the day before was 79, and yesterday's was 77, so a little lower, and I have not really been hitting my calorie burn goals, but I am keeping an eye on them and seriously going to try and make sure that I actually get them done. So even today, I still have several more calories to burn to meet the goal, so I'm going to try and do that after I record this video. All right, so that's my Oura ring. And then I fasted yesterday for about 20 hours. I broke my fast with lunch around 1 p.m. You can see I had some arugula greens, ham, eggs, 2 Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts, and some manchego cheese. Then around 4 p.m., I drank some athletic greens supplement, and that's pretty much all I had yesterday. I was so full from that ham and the eggs that it kept me totally satiated the rest of the day. Okay, in terms of activity yesterday, I went for my morning jog walk, and then I walked a little bit on my desk treadmill, and then I did my 10x workout. I'm on week 3 of that program, and so far I've really been loving it. I use home equipment. I'm thinking about actually joining a gym in a month or so. So hopefully I can then progress to some of the heavier weights just because I don't have that type of equipment in my home. And then my blood ketones were 2.2, and I know it sounds like a repeat. No, for sure. It was 2.2 even yesterday. So very happy that it still stayed up that high. My blood glucose readings are pretty good. So you can see that there's a little bit of a blip up in the morning, but it comes right back down during my walk. Not sure why. That might just be dawn effect, which is your body tends to produce some glucose around the time you wake up, maybe. And then at lunch, you can see that I had lunch 12:45, 1 o'clock, and then there is a little bit of a spike. It looks like a spike, but actually it didn't go up that high. It looks like it may have gone up 17, 18 points, and then it suddenly goes back down in the afternoon, and that's totally fine. It's pretty good. It did go down throughout the afternoon, the rest of the afternoon and evening. But you'll notice that there's a little bit of a gap as well. So I clearly forgot to scan my CGM before I went to bed. And by the time I woke up in the morning, it only holds 8 hours worth of data. So I missed a few, maybe an hour and a half in there. So, oh well. Then that leads me to what I wanted to chat about today, which is why do I eat so dang early? When I first started intermittent fasting, I started off by simply skipping breakfast because even before I started fasting, I never really liked eating breakfast. I naturally was never really ever hungry. So many people say, oh, breakfast is the best, it's the most important meal of the day. And yeah, certainly there's maybe some truth to that if breakfast was the only meal that you ate. But most of us eat dinner pretty late and then likely eat lunch and dinner. Anyway, I would force myself to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then those 2 snacks in between the meals, which was like crazy because I was like, I'm not even hungry. When I found out about fasting, I was ecstatic because I was like, oh, I can do this. I can skip breakfast. And so I was able to do the 16-hour fast pretty quickly, within 1 to 2 weeks. I was already managing 12, 14, 16-hour fasts. So it was relatively easy. A few months later, I started doing OMAD, or 1 meal a day, or 20-hour fast, where my eating window was only in 4 hours. So I'd eat, and then 4 hours later, if I was still hungry, I'd eat a little something else, but then I would wait till the next day to eat my next meal. And that also worked easily for me. I was doing this up until I put on the CGM earlier in the spring, and what I noticed was that my blood glucose was actually spiking at night. And I didn't know why because, most of the time I would eat a low carb meal and it would spike even when I ate a low carb meal. And so I spoke with my assigned personal coach or nutritionist, And she basically said, well, there's so many factors to your blood glucose spiking in the evening while you sleep. And some of those are, of course, like what you eat, when you ate, the sleep and your sleep quality and quantity, right? The amount of stress that you're having, exercise, maybe you haven't been exercising or maybe you've exercised too much. And then, of course, alcohol intake. Well, I don't really drink that much alcohol. My exercise is pretty level. And I really, could see that likely it's because of what I've eaten. So my nutritionist basically suggested try eating earlier in the day. And, we thought 5 o'clock, but I've actually brought it up a little bit earlier, especially if I do one meal a day and I eat around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I actually find that eating earlier, and the key is eating something that will satiate you, right? So that you will be fully satisfied having eaten it. So I tend to eat, again, low carb, healthy fat. Sometimes you'll see me eating a ribeye steak or, a lot of eggs. And I find all those foods really satisfying that I typically don't have to eat again until the following day. What you'll see is that over the last 19 days, where I have been following sort of a stricter low carb routine and also intermittent fasting more regularly, and also eating earlier in the day, you'll notice that my ketones and my blood glucose are starting to level, one lower than they normally have been before I started, and then the ketones are definitely much higher, right? They're definitely in the nutritional ketosis range. So I'm really excited about that, and I really think that all of these things combined are helping me get to that point. And I hope that gives you something to think about in terms of, like, how late do you eat? Leave a comment below, and then would you consider trying eating a little earlier in the day and see how that affects your sleep and your mood the following day? And yeah, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on eating a little earlier in the day. And that's what I have for today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.